A wolf actually gave birth to a human baby. Can you believe it? This baby was adopted by Victor. As Lucian grew, his physical advantages became more and more obvious. Not only was he able to transform into a wolf, but he could also revert to his human body at will. Before Lucian, werewolves could only be called wolves because they had no sanity at all. However, Victor utilized Lucian's contagion to create more werewolves. During the day, these werewolves were sent to guard the castle, and at night, they were engaged in manual labor at the castle, while Lucian's job was blacksmithing. The vampires and human nobles cooperated in order to create more werewolves and get a blood meal. They protected the human nobles from the wolves, while the nobles supplied the bloods with human slaves. As time went on, the werewolf packs grew and the nobles were victimized more and more. The vampires called a meeting, but Counselor Sonia was not present. As it turns out, she is dating Lucian. Lucian had grown tired of slavery and used his blacksmithing to craft himself a key that would unlock his collar, hoping that Sonia would run away with him. The pair's date is discovered by a historian, but he chooses to keep it a secret and does not tell Victor. That very day, a new shipment of slaves was delivered by human nobles, and Sonia left the castle to meet them. Lucian, who was a werewolf, sensed something strange and stepped forward to rescue his beloved mate, transforming into a wolf to scare off the pack. As soon as the wolves left, Lucian was shot in the back by Victor and reverted to his human body. As a disobedient werewolf slave, Lucian was whipped by Victor and thrown into a dungeon. In the dungeon, he saw the real lives of his kind, who fought for food and were not much different from the savage wolves who could not be restored to their bodies. This makes Lucian even more eager to escape, not only for himself, but to take his kind with him. Victor informs Sonia of the news that Lucian will be put to death. And of course Sonia will not sit idly by. The historian approached Sonia and offered to help her, but at the cost of giving him the counselor's seat. An amicable agreement was reached, and under the cover of the historian, Sonia met with Lucian, plotted his escape, and waited for a rendezvous at a specific location 3 days later. The meeting between the two ended hastily and they returned to the dungeon. Lucian is given the key to the collar from the historian. Lucian unlocked the collar, and when the jailers came round, the turned werewolf took out the vampires. They have to unshackle themselves in the shortest time possible and free more of their kind to escape the vampire castle. However, they are still discovered. The Bloods were well equipped, with silver weapons specifically designed for werewolves. Only a few managed to escape. By the time Victor arrived, it was no longer helpful. They fled into the forest in order to free more of their kind. Lucian possessed the aura of a wolf king and skillfully tamed the wolves who couldn't turn into human bodies. Now, they just have to wait for Sonia to rendezvous. However, all Lucian gets is the news that Sonia has been arrested, the old man with the blue eyes. Victor, tied to the stone pillar, is his daughter. In order to free Sonia, Lucian decided to sneak into the castle alone and try to get her out. However, Victor found them and the two are taken to the council chamber, and the trial of Sonia is passed by the full council. The trial took the form of a sunbath, and the skylight of the judgment hall was opened, and Sonia was instantly a flying ash. Lucian's wails echoed through the halls, waiting for the daylight to clear. Victor enters the hall and removes Sonia's necklace. Lucian is also about to go on trial, but in a moment of crisis Lucian transformed into a werewolf and he grabbed Sonia's necklace and escaped. He struggled up the wall and roared into the forest. The wolves in the forest heard his roar and attacked the vampire compound. With a sane werewolf leading the way, the wolves managed to attack the wall, saved Lucian, and freed the werewolves in the dungeon. Under the command of Victor, historian took the elder's coffin with him and escaped down the dark river. He led his own elite team into battle, but he was targeted by Lucian on the battlefield. But Victor wanted to make sure that his elder blood was not lost. All he wanted to do was escape. In the well that leads to the dark river, Lucian knocked him into the river. The Bloods in the castle were destroyed.